All right, so let's get started. I have a few things. I have a few different topics that we're going to talk about today, but they all blend together. And as I've been working on this, like so many things in life seem to every week now just keep piling up, like and heading into exactly what we're talking about. So if you have your Bibles, let's turn to Matthew chapter 5, and let's do a little research, or not a little research, a little review to begin with. So somebody read to me Matthew 5, verses 20 through 22. If you have your Bibles, open those up. Who's got me?
For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. You have heard it said that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to counsel. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire.
So for the past 2 weeks, we've taught on these verses here. And we described that Yeshua was calling his disciples. He was calling those who were willing to follow him, who wanted to participate in this kingdom movement, that they were to be greater than the Pharisees. We also talked about in that historical period, there was two other groups. There was the Sadducees, who were the theocratic government, basically, of the temple and everything else that was going on. And then there was also the Zealots, who were the crazy, unstable people who took matters into their own hands because they didn't like, that's a weak word. They hated strongly the people, the Romans, the Sadducees, and they were willing to take things in their own hands and kill them. And this was who the people of the first century were living with. These were the three major groups of people, including then the Pharisees, who Yeshua says, what they teach, they're spot on. What they're saying is spot on. They're just not living it. If you want to be a part of this kingdom, if you want to be a part of what I am teaching, this movement that you want to be a part of, it's not just about the words that you say, it's about how you live your life. And as I studied this, I learned that there is a difference these past 2 weeks as I've been studying for my own research for my schooling. I've realized that there is a big difference. I had this conversation with Dawn yesterday. There's a big difference between information and truth. There is an ocean of information that is out there. I mean, you have so many apps that send you information, that send you news, that send you thoughts, that send you all kinds of statements. You have quotes, you have all this stuff that's out there. There's tons and tons of information that is an ocean. But what I've learned about truth is that truth doesn't rise to the top. Truth sinks typically to the bottom in this sea of information. And it's only for the people who truly want to dig, who want to get deep into that ocean, to fight for and seek out truth. Those are the only people who will find it, who actually pursue, I want to know truth. And for many years, I've taught that there is a difference. Next slide. There's a difference in time and how we see time. Most people in our world, in the Western world, see time linear. And I found this instead of linear across, it went straight up and down. I thought, that's an interesting, I got to use this one. But as we've taught, history is more cylindrical. It's like a slinky. Anybody have a slinky? Own a slinky? Yeah? You know, it's circular, but it doesn't meet up, right? It's always different. Every circle, it changes. And that's how history is. That's how time is. Time and history repeats itself. It's just not exactly the same. It's different. And it's different because the question that we are to ask every time is, how are we going to respond in this time? What will we do? Have you ever found yourself in a marriage or a situation where you're like, why does this keep happening? You know, I've had counseling with married couples before, and they keep struggling with the same thing over and over and over. And one of the things I've said was like, look, you have to be willing to change if you want your marriage to change. And for many years, I had couples that would say to me the same exact thing. What would they say? Do you know? Bang. And what changes? Nothing. Because she never changed. But what have I always said? I've learned this from personal experience. I've learned this as a historical perspective. I've learned this from a biblical perspective and a philosophical perspective. Nothing changes until I change.
Michael Jackson.
What?
Michael Jackson.
Man in the mirror. That is correct. That is correct. What will we do? Are we as a community, like you, where's Everly? Everly talked about humility. And I wrote this down. I said, are we living a life experiencing God day by day? Or is God even in your daily priorities? Is God just something that you think about when you come here or you go to church or, once a week? Or is he in your thoughts the moment you wake up? Is he in your thoughts in a conversation? Lord, how do I speak this? Lord, how do I listen to this? Lord, prepare me for what I'm entering into when I have to go and I have to sit with these little kids all day long. Lord, prepare my heart for what you have planned for me today. Does Yeshua's challenge to be greater than the teachers mean anything to us? And if so, how then do we do this? Let's go back to Matthew chapter 5. Read verse 22 again. Alex, please.
But murderers will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to counsel, and whoever says, "You fool," will be liable to the hell of fire.
Our words matter. The words that come out of our mouths, they matter. How we speak to people, how we treat people, should be the way we want them to speak and treat us. This is the golden rule. This is exactly what Yeshua said. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's the same thing with the words that you use. Speak to people the way you want to be spoken to. I was up till, midnight, having the same conversation with my wife last night, having this same talk. Treat people, speak to people. And sometimes that means that you have to be the first person to do it. If you don't like the words coming out of the other people's mouths or the person that you're married to or the people that you work with, if you don't like their words, you have to change first. Because if you are always waiting for them to change and just always angry at their words and you're just going back and forth, nothing's going to change. That doesn't mean we don't stand for truth. Truth is still absolutely important, and we don't back down from what we believe. But the only way that we can do that is to know the difference between information and truth. We don't just keep spewing out information because that a lot of times is hurtful and wrong and not even true. And over the past 6 months, this has resonated with me because I've been going around, I've told a couple of you, I've gone around to a lot of leaders in our parish right here. And I had a conversation with another one yesterday. And I asked them, where do you get your moral compass from? Where does your moral compass come from? I usually got 2 answers. What do you think one of those 2 answers was? What?
I don't know.
Our parents? Yeah. The Bible.
No. Those were the two answers right there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Your parents?
I don't know. And my parents. There hasn't been one leader in this parish who has said, oh, I get it from God. I get it from the Bible. I asked my 14-year-old daughter, I said, hey, where do you get your moral compass from? Just because I was curious, because I'm like frustrated. I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep getting these same answers from adults. So I asked my 14-year-old daughter, and what is her answer? One word. And she thought it was like a joke, like not even a joke, but like, is this a real question? Like, I was like, where do you get your moral compass from, Kennedy? And she said, Jesus? Like, duh. But I'm flabbergasted by where we are in society. And I think that all cultures, all communities are a microcosm of the bigger. And so if on our own parish, I'm asking political leaders, law enforcement, educators, people in this community who are in leadership, overseeing lots and lots of people. And your answer is where your moral compass is, I don't know. Well, then how do you determine what's right or wrong? Or if it's your parents, well, were your parents, where did theirs come from? Were they dysfunctional? Did your dad beat his wife? Were they verbally abusive? Did they steal? Were they a good example? Where do you get your moral compass from? I don't know. We currently live in a time that seems to be repeating. From political violence to a society that has moved away from God, that is ignorance to the words that Alex just spoke. In my first book, 10 years ago, in my research, I researched several different Bible colleges, Biola and a few other colleges, but that's the first one that comes off the top of my head and one of the professors was quoting, and they were all kind of saying the same thing. This was 10 years ago. He said, all of these students that are coming to Bible college, you go to Bible college so you can do what as a profession? Go into ministry. And they're saying all these teenagers are coming to Bible college and these prestigious Bible colleges, and they want to go into ministry. And they all said the same thing. This is the most biblically illiterate generation we've ever taught. That was 10 years ago. These students don't even know what these words are. They've grown up in the church. They're in the youth ministries. They do these things, and they don't know any of these words. I've said this, and this isn't in here, but I've said this in leadership things before. Leadership is always downstream of the culture. So the people that are in culture that believe these things to be true, when they eventually find themselves in leadership, those things are still true for them. The way that they live their lives as a elementary and teenager and young adult, those beliefs don't go away when you become a leader, unless something radically changes you. But if you're just the normal flow, if you believe that lying, cheating, and stealing is okay in high school and in college and as a young kid, guess what happens when you are now in management or a CEO? You will think that lying, cheating, and stealing is okay as long as, same thing as a teenager, as long as they don't get caught. Where do you get your moral compass from? Matthew chapter 5, verses 23 through 24. You got that for me? 23 through 24. Somebody got me?
Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift.
This is immediately afterwards. You are to be greater than the Pharisees who teach what is true. Your words matter. And if then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, to the altar, and remember your brother holds something against you. When do we bring an offering to the temple in these days? When would you bring an offering to the temple? What would
Passover.
Passover. Anything else?
Yep.
Yom Kippur, there's only one for that, Yom Kippur. But the holidays, for sure, Pesach, there's lots of other biblical holidays that we don't talk about here, as well as just regular times where you would come to offer a sacrifice when you're in sin. Like you want to, maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's something that you did, but there's also a lot of them where you're celebrating. A lot of these holidays, you bring an offering, not because you're guilty, but because you're celebrating. You had a baby. You had something happen in your life. You want to celebrate the first fruit harvest of everything that God has given you. So there's times that you come to the temple for holidays, for sin, and for celebration. The next holiday that's coming up immediately right now is what? Rosh Hashanah, right? And then 10 days after that is Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is found in Leviticus 23. It's also found in Revelation chapter 3. It's this idea that every year there is a book that is opened up every year on Rosh Hashanah. And on Rosh Hashanah is this book, and Revelation talks about this as well. It's called the Book of Life. There's one. There's the Book of Death. And then there's the in-between, the unsure. The Book of Life is, you got another year. You're good. The Book of Death is 2026. You're checking you out. The unsure is, I don't know yet. You got 10 days to figure this out. There's this idea that in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there's what's called the days of awe. That you have 10 days to go to not God. Because on Yom Kippur is the day that we all go to God and we say, God, forgive us as a community. Forgive us, please. We have sinned. As we just said, as a nation, we are to come before God and say, God, forgive us as a nation. This is something that I wish our nation celebrated more of. But these 10 days of awe is this time before you come before God and ask for forgiveness. You begin Rosh Hashanah and you give thanks and you give gratitude and you apologize and you think about, who have I offended? Who have I wronged? Who have I said something to that I've hurt? Who have I maybe stole from and I didn't, tell them? Or who have I hurt somebody that I need to go make amends with? Or maybe somebody's offended me and I have been holding this grudge for days, months, years. And I have held on to this anger and frustration. And what does anger and frustration and anxiety and stress do to you? It poisons you. And so every year, there's this time that God says, make things right with your brother. Go apologize to them. Go forgive them. Because how can you have a relationship with me if this is your attitude towards your brothers? You want me to forgive you, but have you forgiven your brother? I mean, isn't this the prayer we just said? Lord, forgive us of what? Of our trespasses, as we forgive those who have hurt us, who have done wrong to us. We want God to forgive us, but do we forgive others? What's so important about this verse is that it's not just about restoration. It's not just about being restored. It's about a word that we just don't use anymore. It's about restitution. They go hand in hand for the biblical man. Without restitution, there is no restoration. If you have your Bibles, turn to Luke chapter 19. Luke 19. Somebody read to me verses 1 through 9.
Then Pilate took Jesus and flogged him.
No, Luke 19.
That was John 19.
Yes, Luke 19, please. And Pilate flogged him. Yes, that would be an interesting verse for right now.
Yeah.
Luke 19, 1 through 9.
Yes.
He entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and rejoiced him and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He has gone in to be the guest of a man who was a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold.
Good. Keep last one. Go ahead.
And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham.
Is there a church song that the Zacchaeus, the wee little man? I can't read this passage without thinking like he's a wee little man. Zacchaeus, come down from that, or you little man. I can't read this verse without thinking he's a wee little man. Come on down. He's a little Irish man. Come on down. He's just short. I can't I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I read this, an Irish accent comes out of my mouth.
Good.
Yes, thank you. So I didn't read the whole thing
I'll never forget
in my
that.
Irish accent, yes. My question as I looked at this is so important to go along with Matthew chapter 5. Verse 7, it calls Zacchaeus a sinner. Who is a sinner? They go into this house with a man who's a sinner. Why is he a sinner?
Takes from other Jews.
So verse 2. And see, a man called Zacchaeus, and he was a chief collector and he was rich. Is he a sinner because he was rich?
No.
No. He's a sinner because what was the chief tax collector in those days?
He's stealing, that's what.
He oversaw all the people who were collecting taxes from their own brothers. And they didn't get paid by the Romans. How would they get paid? By the amount that they charged extra. And now who is he? He's the chief mobster,
He's the chief.
right? He is the chief mobster that's like, hey, you give me my portion, you can have this corner. You can have this, right? He's this guy that's going
Can you do the Godfather?
And so here's this guy, he is Michael Corleone,
Yeah,
right?
there we go.
So he is this guy that is taking all the money from all the other little guys that are robbing their own brothers. So guess who doesn't like this guy? Everybody. Not a soul, not the Pharisees, not the Sadducees, nobody likes the chief tax collectors. They are sinning because they're stealing, literally stealing from their own brothers. So verse 9, it says that deliverance came to the house today. How? How did deliverance come? Did Zacchaeus, not have to get far to his knees? Did he get on his knees and say, Lord, forgive me. I believe in you. I accept you as Lord and Master in my life. Does it say that? Does it say that he believed that Jesus was the Messiah? No. Then how did salvation, deliverance come to Zacchaeus' house? What did he do? He said, I will give half of everything I own, and anybody that I have stolen from, I will restore. How many times? Fourfold. The Greek word is tetraplus. It's only used one time in the entire Bible. That's it.
What's the word?
Tetraplus is the Greek word. This is the only place in the Bible that you find this one word. So if we go to, all right, so what is this word? Where is this coming from? Right now we have to dig a little bit. This isn't just information. Let's get to the bottom. Let's figure out what is being said here. This is Leviticus chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. And Yod-Heh-Vav, they spoke to Moshe, saying, when any being sins and commits a trespass against God, and he has lied to his neighbor about a deposit, or has a pledge, or about a robbery, or shall extort from his neighbor, or has found that what was lost and has lied concerning it, or did swear falsely, so that he sins in regard to any one of all of these a man does, then it shall be, when he sins and shall be guilty, he shall return what he took by robbery, or what was extorted, or by deposit, which was deposited with him, or the lost item which was found, or all that which he swore falsely. He shall repay its total value plus 1/5 more to it, and give it to him who it belongs to on the day of his guilt offering. Then he brings his guilt offering to God, a ram and a perfect one from the flock for your valuation. If I stole something, if I did something wrong to you, I'm not to just come to you and say, I'm so sorry. I'm not supposed to just come to you and like, well, okay, I stole this here. I'm going to give it back to you. What am I supposed to do? What did you say?
Do it.
How much?
5 times.
1/5.
1/5.
1/5, 20%. So it should hurt a little bit. So if I do something wrong to you, there should be what's called restitution. I give back to what's yours, and I have to, like, my own money, my own stuff, I have to give you more because it should hurt. Why should it hurt?
You did wrong.
Because it, not just because it's wrong. Why else? It's humbling also, but what's the next step? What is, when I'm humbled, hopefully it changes me so I don't do it again. I did this wrong. I gave it back, but now it costs me something so that hopefully my behavior will change. Remember, it's not about just what, I agree with these guys. It's how I live my life. I'm not supposed to lie, cheat, and steal. Sometimes I have to learn that lesson. But then there's another passage, Exodus 22. It says this, verses 1 through 4. Exodus 22, verses 1 through 4. Yeah. When a man steals an ox or a sheep, this is about theft, and shall slaughter it or sell it, he repays 5 cattle for an ox or 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief is found breaking in, so on and so, blah, blah, blah. If the sun is risen on him, so on and so forth. And if the theft is indeed found alive in his hand, whether it's an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he shall repay double. So in Exodus, if I've done something wrong, if I have stolen your sheep and I ate it and I sold it and it's gone, you caught it, what do I have to repay? 4 times the amount. And then it goes on to say, verse 4, and if the theft is indeed found alive in his hand, whether it is an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he shall repay how much? Double. Half of what I have, or double, like however you want to see this. This is Zacchaeus right here. He's recognized, I have stolen, I've broken the law, I have done things to hurt my brothers. I will give half of my possessions, and whatever I stole, I will follow what it says right here and give 4 times. I mean, what would happen if we instituted that in society today? You stole something from your brother? Great. Now you got to pay 4 times what you took, or 20% more in different cases. Instead, people get a slap on the wrist or community service, or you got to go to jail for a little bit of time. But where's the restitution? Where do I get paid back for what was stolen from me? Restoration and the kingdom go hand in hand. The kingdom of heaven came to Zacchaeus' house because he was humbled and he recognized what he had did was wrong. And now he was going to do what needed to be done to make it right. Let's finish with Matthew 5.
Which step of that is in the 12-step program? Exactly.
6 or
the
7.
12-step.
Yeah, it's in there. 6 or 7, I think you're right. Finish 25 and 26, Alex. Yeah, chapter 5, verse 25.
Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you're going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. Truly I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny.
What was the 25, the first word? Do it quickly.
Come to terms quickly.
Quickly. Mine says, be well-minded. Is there any other translation?
Agree with your adversary.
Yeah. Make things right.
Question, never understood if they put him in prison, how did they ever make it right?
Oh, so this is interesting. So what this passage right here, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but he's quoting a passage that is in Roman law, not Jewish law. You break the law in Roman law, there is a actual prison that you will have to do time for until somebody else pays your debt.
Oh, man.
So if you don't have family members that can pay your debt, guess what happens? You never get out. So here's Yeshua saying what? Look, you got a problem with your brother, make it right. You got a problem with a non-brother, a Gentile, you better make it right. Otherwise, you will never get out of jail. You will die in that terrible prison.
The two cultures, he's delineating.
Yes. That's why Yeshua says, but I say to you, whoever is wroth with his brother, fence, don't go that far. Stay as far away from evil as you possibly can. But if there's something that you have to make right, don't wait. Make it right now. I was thinking about this and wondering, okay, so what there's a few homework things that I thought we should do. And
Make restitution.
that's coming up.
That's a tough one, brother.
Starting a week from today is Rosh Hashanah. You got 10 days, brother. Better make it right. But I thought, in Yeshua's words, but I say to you, whoever is wroth with his brother, whoever was without cause shall be liable to judgment. Whoever says to his brother, rock out. I mean, there's a lot of things right now today that is just so much information and negativity and just words that are harmful and hurtful. I wonder have you ever taken a fast or a diet from this? If you've ever said, I'm going to step away, and this is kind of why we do the retreat the way we do, and we leave and we get out of this place so that we can fast from all of the news and all of the social media and just leave that alone and focus on asking the question, what is truth? And maybe instead of looking at Facebook or Instagram, maybe we should open this up and say, where is God experience, or where are the people in this Bible experiencing God, and how is that similar to me? How often do I open this book up and actually read the words, dust the Bible off, and open the pages maybe a little bit and seek, what is God saying to me today? How do these words apply to me today? What is the truth? And then maybe in your journals, because I know you guys are all journaling, right? I mean, I'm talking about this for years. You're all journaling. And number one is still the same thing. What are you grateful for? There's a lot of people telling you what's wrong out there, but what are you grateful for? We can focus on the negative, or we can focus on the good, the true, the beautiful. And number two, start asking this question. Who do I need to apologize to? Who do I need to ask for their forgiveness? Write this down. Who do I need to forgive, or to let go of the resentment and the hate and the bitterness? I need to give that to God. I heard a great line this last week that has just struck me, and some of the other things I taught, but I thought, wow, this is a great statement. The statement is own the dash. Has anybody heard that before? Own the dash. Own the dash is the idea of on your cemetery, what is it? The stone. On stone, there are two dates. A date when you're born and a date when you've passed. But between those two dates is what? A dash. That you get to choose, that you own. The dash represents, what do you do with your life today? Are you a victim with no control of what's going on in your life, or where life happens to you all the time? Or do you recognize that you were created in the image of God? He's created you with a purpose to live your life with the idea, as we just prayed, Lord, your will be done in my life. You were created uniquely, and that we are to seek truth, to recognize that he has given me an opportunity to have a relationship with him. Do we speak to him daily? Do we speak to him throughout the day? Do you ask Messiah Yeshua to guide you in your conversations and your decisions? And do you walk boldly through the doors that he has just opened for you? Who are you? Do you own the dash?
Where you got that from?
There's-
On the dash. Where you read that?
I came up, I didn't come up with it. I read it from somewhere. I don't remember where. Izzy, yes, please.
Two things that are kind of related. First of all, there's a Crowder song on his album Exile called Dash that's all about owning the dash.
Wow, okay.
In between. It's amazing. Secondly, I'm wondering, what do you do in a situation where you're trying to forgive someone, you're forgiving, you're trying to give over to God, but the situation isn't resolved and it doesn't look like it's going to be resolved? Like, do you just keep forgiving when you find yourself getting back in the resentment, or like, what do you do?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
That's
Because you opened up with it too, like, you know, in relationships or something, like, you be the first one to change.
Right.
But what if that person will not change, and it won't change anything like between you guys?
Unless that person changes.
Well, I think you just hit on the head, right? The idea that who can we change?
Only ourselves.
Yeah, I can't change you. I can't change, you can't change the person who's hurting you. You can't. But you can do what Yeshua says and put up fences. You can put up boundaries. You can say, like, whether it be verbally or physically, like, we're not entering this space. We're not having this conversation, because you can try to have restoration and hey, you hurt me, and this is what you said, or this is what you did. They may not apologize. They might not even believe or think that you had this. I remember doing this years ago with the person from Crossroads, and we had like head-on-head tension. And I remember, and I was convicted by this, and I went to him and I said, look, man, we've been fighting and arguing, and we don't work together, but I'm with the gathering and you're with Crossroads Up. But I came to him and I said, look, I just want to apologize. I know we had tension, and I know that we didn't get along, and it was heated tension. It was like really bad. And I said, like, I just want to apologize for my actions and for what I said. And I ask that you forgive me. And so everything that I did wasn't right. And so I just apologize. Please forgive me. And he looked at me and says, what? You want me to apologize to you now? I was like, no, you don't have to apologize to me. I just felt like I had to. Well, I'm not apologizing to you. I don't think I did it. I mean, it's like, okay. Sometimes that's all we can do. You can't, just because I offer my forgiveness or my apology to someone does not mean it's going to be reciprocated. And we should never do that so that it is reciprocated. Because then it's like a quid pro quo, right? I'm going to do this to you if you do it back to me. No. It starts with me. My heart has to change. I'm going to change. You don't have to change.
The problem is that they might change, you might change. And some people are in a situation where, like for me, if it was me and you, I'd just say, fine, I'm gonna do the right thing, and I'll never have to deal with you again. I'll just avoid you for the rest of my life. But not everybody can do that. Some people have people that are in their lives without no choice.
There's always a choice.
No, there's not always a choice.
Well, it could be
Everybody has
family.
a choice. You can go to prison.
It could be family.
You know?
Yeah.
But-
Could be family, could be marriage. Yeah, there's, yeah.
Right. So if this other person keeps on reacting the same way,
Right.
how do they get out of it? How do they not maintain the same problems that they're trying to get through? They're trying to forgive, but even Jesus says, you know, I guess at some point you get past 7 times 7.
Well, no, that's an idiom for no. You should always forgive.
Right.
Yeah, there's never enough forgiveness.
You're done.
No. Yes, Don.
Okay, so what I've learned is that when you feel like someone is attacking you, or someone's staying the same, okay, and they say certain things, that is just a cry for love. So all you can do with that individual is love them. Now, if you can take on the posture that you're a child of God and you need no defense, the song you sang, or the lyrics I read said, righteousness is your defense. If you apply that, you need no defense. So literally, you can't be hurt. If you take something as an attack, then you're in the defense mode. There's no need for defense. It's just love. It's always love. That's all Jesus is and all God is.
And I agree with that. And I think that was good because that's a good transition to the idea of that we have to remember that hurt people hurt people. And so in our reaction, sometimes instead of being combative and defensive, maybe our reaction should be love.
I agree.
Have you,
I
you know,
agree 100%.
let me,
My question is, what when that doesn't work? What about the abused woman
Right.
being verbally abused by her husband, and she can't get rid of him because the law says he's got to have visitation, he's got all this stuff,
Right.
and that's easy to say. Oh, I'm just going to love you. I'll just forget it. That's not the way it works.
I'm not saying that.
I think that there are times like you do have a choice.
Yeah,
And sometimes you may have to have somebody in your life because they might be the mother of your kids or they might be the father, they might be your kid.
That's right.
So it's not that, but then that's where like the boundaries and the fences. I can interact with you. I might have to interact with you, but then I have to make some very probably difficult choices of how I'm going to interact with you,
Right.
how I'm going to figure out how we're going to pick our kids up or make those arrangements. And I think sometimes you have to make decisions that make you look like a difficult person or maybe a not very nice person, but you are truly making a decision that is the best thing for you, which in turn is the best thing for your kids, which, all that can be connected. But I think that's a boundary
Right.
thing.
And I think that, that's
that's
right on.
good.
And I
It
think
may
that
not
there's,
seem like it at the time,
and there's,
but
right.
eventually you're making the right decision by getting out.
I
Because
think some
Right.
people just need to get their ass kicked over.
There's degrees.
My opinion.
So there's degrees. So we went from like maybe a family dispute to like abuse, right? And so you can't put those together and say, well, it's the same thing, right? There's like in the Bible we just read with restitution, there's different thefts or for different things, there's different penalties and different forms of restitution. If there's abuse, if it's like, you're having an argument or you're verbally abused or you're physically abused, those are different degrees. And for each one of those have different ways to treat them. One of them might be a boundary.
That's the concept of the fences, right? You can't allow the little. Right?
And one fence might be, hey, we're not gonna have a conversation about this. One fence says, I have a restraining order against you. You're not allowed to come near me.
There's different types of fences to put up.
Different fences for different circumstances.
Put up a
Yes.
little small picket fence, or you could build a stone wall. It just depends on the fence you need.
In your mind as well.
So yes, and so here's your homework. We talked about your journal. We talked about writing down who do you need to forgive. But now here's your reading: Matthew 24 and Matthew 25. That's your reading for this week, Matthew 24, 25. And then you're to answer this question. Are you a sheep or are you a goat?
And you're going to talk about that next week? Or are we just going to have a holiday next week? What's next week? How long we got to keep that for?
Maybe we'll talk about that next week, yeah.
You're going to identify sheep and goats because
Yeah.
is that greatest of all time, or is that
Well,
the wrong side?
if you read the passage, it will answer that question
That's
for you.
right.
It's Matthew chapter 24 and chapter 25. Both chapters. Matthew 24 and 25. And then at the end of 25, ask yourself, are you a sheep or are you a goat? And it will, because the question is in there. You just have to read it. And I'll know, so the homework will be how you answered it. And I'll know, did you read it or not? Because of your answer. Yes, ma'am.
Can I close this out with something?
Shh. Is there any other questions? There was a question back here. Lindley had a question.
when you talking about forgiveness, a lot of people think that you always have to forgive somebody else. But sometimes you have to forgive yourself first.
Amen.
100%.
Yeah, that's
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lindley.
Take yourself off the cross.
Amen. Yeah. You want to close us out?
Yeah, I wrote something in my journal yesterday, so this is like what I'm personally going through. But I didn't want us to lose ourselves in our own like human trying, because there's only sometimes so much that we can do, and the rest like God has to fill in. And so I wrote this yesterday, and I just felt like it was like, this is where I am. This is where I know like a couple of us are, especially with Rosh Hashanah coming up. And I want us to, like Matt is always saying, like return back to our source, because I think that's who's going to give us strength to participate in Rosh Hashanah and genuinely do so, and genuinely like bring our full selves there. So it's really short, but if there was a way I could articulate the stability of leaning back into God because He is the ultimate judge, which gives me the opportunity to release my anger. To diffuse my hurtful words, I want to scream in hopes of relief from my human brokenness caused from other human brokenness. So be it for me, Father. Give me words or silence to use in the moments that unforgiveness is present. Would you cool my heated soul and forehead with your fresh, relentless, and living water? Will you attach me to your eternity of goodness and joy and peace and beauty and awe? And would you grace me with it on this side of heaven?
Amen.